Good morning. I think that 2012, so far, the theme of the year seems to be about breakdown or breakthrough. Globally, we seem to be experiencing breakdown or breakthrough, and I think personally, we're also experiencing it. I believe that we are at a crossroads, that we're at a choice point where we are being invited to evolve. And I think we're not only being invited to evolve, we're also being pushed and shoved towards evolving. I don't know about you. Last night, Barbara Marx Hubbard was here, and one of the things she said is that a crisis always precedes, not always, but a crisis precedes transformation. And if you think about your own personal life, whenever you have had a crisis, whenever you have had something big show up in your life, has that not also been a moment when you spiritually catapulted in your soul? Yeah? It's those experiences that we would not necessarily call forth in our lives that happen to be the ones that are the most transformative. For me, many experiences, but at a young age, when my 18-year-old cousin drowned, it catapulted me off into trying to figure out where he went. You know, where did he go? And so I began reading every book about life after death. I began to study all the different religions because I needed the answer to that question. It was a spiritually catapulting moment for me, as it is for many of us when we have big stuff that comes up and happens to us. Barbara Marx Hubbard also said that stress is what gets a species to evolve. And it's like a seed breaking through the shell. I would imagine that the breaking of the shell can be painful, yet it leads to growth. You know, how else is the seed going to grow up through the soil and up to the sun? It has to break the seed. And sometimes we get ourselves locked in our egos and our perceptions and our routines and our life, and we just become like encased in the shell, and then we break out of it, and sometimes that is very painful, and yet it also can lead to transformation. I love what White Eagle said particularly about losing someone that we love through death. He said that although a physical presence can never be replaced, know that a great gift has been given to you. It is as if a seed has been planted in your soul's garden, and it takes a long time for this seed to grow. And yet one day when it comes into its full fruition, you will marvel at its beauty. So again, it's not something we would choose, and yet it's an experience that can awaken us. So here's a question. What if we didn't need a crisis to grow spiritually? Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great? We won't need stress and we don't need a crisis. We just grow spiritually. We can tone down the drama in our lives. How about that one? I think Ekhart Tolle said it well when he said that the single most vital step on your journey toward enlightenment is this: learn to disidentify from your mind. Every time you create a gap in the stream of your mind, the light of consciousness grows stronger. And one day you may catch yourself smiling at the voice in your head as you would the antics of a small child. Does your voice in your head sometimes not sound like a small child? This means that you no longer take the content of your mind all that seriously, as your sense of self does not depend on it. So, the sense of the true self is the sense of the Spirit of God that indwells each of us, and it's expansive, it's timeless, it goes on, it's eternal, and it's bigger than any experience we're having or any thought or any judgment. It's bigger than all of that. And every time we create a gap in the stream of mind, the light of consciousness grows stronger. Isn't that a great thought? So my question to you is, how is the gap opened in you so that the stream of consciousness, the stream of light, can enter in? Meditation is obviously probably the number one way that we allow the stream of consciousness to enter in. But there's being in nature, there's music, there's singing. And I think one of the greatest ways that we can open to the stream of consciousness so that we can step back from the ego and look is humor. You know, humor is a great way that we can step back and we can look at life and we can look at ourselves and we can see what's really going on. For me, I think right now I love to watch Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart because they will, sometimes when I read the news, I can feel so overwhelmed. And like, is the world crazy or what? What is happening? Just on many levels. And I love how they're able to take a situation and then twist it a little bit, make fun of it, and yet at the same time tell the truth. So that I'm learning, but I'm able to take a step aside. In other words, there's that gap, there's that stream of consciousness that can enter in because it's turned a little bit on its side. You know, we've had court jesters for eons. They've always been around so that we can have that ability to laugh and to shift. Because laughter creates a gap in the stream of the mind. Now, the truth is that life will always present us with opportunities for breakdown or breakthrough. And it is how we respond to those opportunities. You know, we can take a small situation and we can turn it into a big drama that really isn't so big. You know, and the truth is we get enough big stuff with big drama that we don't need to take the little things and make those dramatic. And to be able to see that. What's your drama meter? Do you have a high drama meter? Do you have a low drama meter? You want to turn it down a little bit? I think our moving towards spiritual maturity is to turn that down. The truth is that when we hit a breakdown mode, we can lose our sense of humor. And that's when you have no sense of humor, when you've lost it, or I know when I've lost it, I know I'm in trouble. And what I have witnessed is the economy is having a great effect on a lot of people. And I believe it raises the question, what do you do when someone that you love is going through a breakdown? Now, obviously, there's the doctor, there's therapy, there's those kinds of things, but what do you do as a friend and as a loved one when someone that you love is having a breakdown? And I think that what we can do is be a witness to their suffering. One of my dear friends is in this experience right now, and the humor, all the parody that we did and the goofing around wasn't there. And we were talking on the phone and he said, I really don't want any of this unity stuff. Don't be giving me any of this unity stuff. And I said, I promise you I won't. And so we talked and he said, I know I'm a drag and I know, you'd probably rather do something else. And I said, no. What I want to do right now is just sit here. And you don't even have to talk. We can just sit here in silence on the phone. I'm going to sit here with you in the darkness. And that's it. I'm not going to make you or try to have you be happy or do anything other than to be with you in this place. Now, did it change? No. It'd be nice to say, and then, but no. And it's true in our life. We want quick fixes, don't we? We want to make people feel better. We want to do good in the world. And the truth is that sometimes the best thing we can do is be a witness. I'm not talking enabling, but being a witness to what someone is experiencing. Because sometimes when we're held in that place, then when we know that we can fall and be held, then we can rise. It's like the song that Rafe was singing about, falling and being held and being caught by spirit and being caught by loved ones. So, again, life will give us opportunities that we can respond to differently, with drama or not drama, with breakdown or breakthrough, and there's big breakdowns and big breakthroughs, and then there's little breakdowns and little breakthroughs. Back in the mid-'70s, I used to travel a lot when I was in my 20s. And one of the places that I went was down to the Baja by Cabo San Lucas. Now, this is back in like 1975 or something like that, 6. And it was a different Baja than it is today. Today, I mean, back then there was like 2 hotels and 1 restaurant and 1 store and miles of deserted beach. Now there's a Costco, there's lots of freeways, there's wall-to-wall hotels. I mean, I couldn't even believe it when I was there about 10 years ago. I was astounded. But I lived in Boulder, and a group of us went down to the Baja at different times. You know, we all said, we'll meet on this beach, and then, you know, some people would stay a week, some people would stay a couple weeks, a month. I ended up staying for 6 weeks, just camping on this deserted beach with no tent, with a sleeping bag. The weather was perfect. And basically either fishing for the food or, you know, just living on very little. And the way that we found this place was one of our friends found it, and he said, when you get to the 20-kilometer mark before you get to Cabo San Lucas, tell the bus driver to stop and to let you out of the bus. So of course we did, and the bus driver was like, are you crazy? It's the middle of the desert. And then they said, well, okay, you get to the 20-kilometer mark, then go find a gym shoe that is over by a cactus, and when you find the gym shoe, then you hike down and you'll find the beach, and that's where everybody will be, which we did. So the first 3 or 4 days, I thought I was going to go crazy down there because we had books to read and, you know, there was swimming and stuff, but I was bored out of my mind, and I thought, I can't stay down here another week, let alone longer than that. But what was interesting for me was it started to shift, where I started to let go of the busy mind and the to do, you have to do something, but rather to let the gaps begin to come into the stream of consciousness, to get in touch with the movement of the stars and the moon and the tides, and to just begin to be in that. And you know, it has served me my whole life, because whenever I have to go to a quiet place in my head, I always go back to that beach. So I had very little money at the time, and in fact, I ran out of money when I was down there. And so you know, my friends were there, so they said, I'll loan you some money, I'll loan you this, I'll loan you that, that's fine. And I asked for money to be wired to me so that I could, you know, stay down there a little longer. And I got the money, and it was so great, because when you don't have any money, it's no fun, because you can't do anything, you can't buy anything, you can't really eat hardly. And so I felt so flush. It was like I had $200, and I was like, yes, I'm in the money, I'm in the flow. And the first thing I did was I paid everybody back, went out and had a fabulous dinner. It was like, yes, I'm back in the flow again. And that night, sleeping on the beach, in the middle of the night, somebody woke up and said, look out, here comes a wave. And sure enough, a wave came and washed over us where we'd been sleeping for a month, and no wave ever came near it. And guess what? All of my stuff started to go out to sea. There goes our pots and pans, there goes my shoes. Oh, there goes the pack with my money in it, right out to sea. And I went from one day having $200, paying everybody back, taking people out to dinner, going, I'm just fine, to, I think my pack just went out to sea. And you know, those waves come in threes, and walked the beach the next day looking for things to wash up, but it never did. And you know, it turned out fine, because I had money coming in that I didn't know about, another couple $100 to carry me through. It was the 70s. You could get by in a couple $100 back then. That was a lot of money. And I share this story because it's a little breakdown. It's not a big deal. It's a little breakdown. And it felt like a big breakdown in the moment, because not having money in a foreign country is not a very good place to be. But it was, Rafe said it to me in between services, there's an Arab proverb that says, trust God, or trust Allah, but tie up your camel. So this would be, trust Allah, but sleep higher on the beach. So these kinds of experiences, these are small in comparison to some of the stuff that we get hit with. That's small in comparison to a cousin drowning, or an illness, or a divorce, or whatever. But what happens many times is we can take those kinds of experiences and we can up the drama on them, so it's like, oh my God, look what happened, rather than stopping and just laughing at it. Because what else are you going to do? Sometimes in situations where life hits us with things, we can only stand back and we can just laugh. So we have the breakdown, we have the breakthroughs that are happening constantly. Right now, 62% of the United States is experiencing moderate to exceptional drought. Now, exceptional drought is like the top of the thing, and I guess the Midwest got some rain because of the hurricane, so it went up by 0.5 percentage point. But crops are failing, and we can do this probably for 1 year, but if this becomes the norm, not so much. Unemployment around the country, depending on where you live, is around 8%. Student loans are insane. Sending a child to college is about $100,000. That's about what it costs. And when I went to college, I worked my way through college, but it wasn't so difficult. I could pay as I went. It was not an easy thing to do, but it was a doable thing to do. And so we're seeing this incredible stress that is manifesting around the country and the world right now. We're seeing breakdown and people being affected by it. But at the same time, we're seeing breakthroughs. We landed Curiosity on Mars. Yeah, a rover on Mars. I mean, how cool is that? There was an article in the New York Times about the people who got to drive the rovers. So here they are in a computer lab, and they're driving this vehicle, the Curiosity, on Mars. What a great job that is, huh? I want to share with you a paragraph. It says, Matt Heverly, 36, started a recent workday as any young father might. He's up at 5:30, gulping coffee, fixing a bottle for the baby. He threw on his jeans and a t-shirt, and he drove his 2 sons to daycare. He stopped to get the brakes on his Toyota checked, and then he swung by the bank. And then he went to his office to drive a $2.5 billion robot on Mars. And they were talking about how amazing it was, this job that they had. And he said it's kind of fun when you go to a party, because he says he definitely gets coolest job because, you're talking to people and there's, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm an investment banker. He goes, oh yeah, what do you do? Well, I drive a robot on Mars. That's what I do for a living. I mean, it's a breakthrough. It's amazing. We, Seattle Unity, recently joined other faith communities in the Washington United for Marriage, to approve the referendum. To join with the approval of the referendum 74. So these are breakthroughs that are happening that, for years you might think, is anything ever going to change? Is it ever going to move? So we're living in this time of paradox. We're living in this incredible, what is going on? Everything seems to be breaking down. But at the same time, we're living in this incredible time where we're just having these breakthroughs, but we have to stop and notice them because they're so amazing. Things are so amazing. And the truth is, every single one of us here, we're all at a crossroads. You are at a crossroads. And if you're in a crisis, recognize that a crisis precedes transformation. And I believe that we're all going through it personally and we're going through it globally. Stress is what gets a species to evolve. So hey, we've called a little bit of stress onto ourselves and we got some big evolving to do. Teilhard de Chardin, the paleontologist and the Catholic priest mystic, believed that there was a noosphere around the planet Earth, which was like a thought envelope. And he thought that as we progressed in time and as we evolved, this noosphere would become thicker in a sense. And what Barbara Marx Hubbard said last night is that noosphere that Teilhard de Chardin saw all those years ago is the internet. It's that ability to connect instantly with each other through Twitter and texting and Facebook and whatever. We're connected with people all over the world and in our lives instantly. However, being connected to the noosphere is only half of it, because I think what happens is sometimes we get lost in our computer world, and then that's what it becomes. You know, she said she's doing most of her teaching in front of a camera, alone in a room, and nothing can take the place of face-to-face contact, of being together. And so she said what's important is we have the noosphere, we have the thought envelope, but we also have what she calls hubs. And hubs are hanging out together, praying together, being together, whether your spiritual community is extremely important, your friends, and sharing this incredible journey together. So Barbara Thorpe is starting the Prosperity Plus. You know, and you may think, it's just another prosperity program. I don't know, but the truth is, yes, it is, and it's about bringing prosperity into our lives, but it's also about connecting to a hub. It's also about joining not only in the noosphere through the internet, but joining one another face to face and reaching, what's the word she kept using last night, was coherence. You know, your heart connecting, breathing together, hearts beating together. So December 22nd, 2012, you know, the Mayan calendar, the end of the world and stuff. But the truth is, it is a symbolic birth. It's not necessarily like December 22nd, we're all going to go, hey, I'm here, I woke up. No, I think it means that we're having a symbolic spiritual birth. And it is a birth, I believe, in a world where we don't need a crisis to evolve, either personally or globally. How would you like that? To evolve without evolving without the stress, evolving without the drama. Because the truth is, when we create a gap in the stream of our minds, the light of consciousness grows stronger. And we do it through laughter, we do it through meditation, we do it through coming together in community. And the more we do it, one day we'll catch ourselves listening to that voice and smiling at it as we would one of our kids. And go, oh, well, that's interesting. So may we all be willing to take a step back, to see things from a little bit of a different perspective. Because right now, I believe that we are all being spiritually catapulted into manifesting the Christos on earth. And we're doing that and directing the energy, the creative energy. May we use it for building, for healing, for peace, for awakening, for all these things that we've been holding to and calling forth for years. It's happening right now. So break down or break through. It's your choice.
Thank you, Karen. We come to that time in